For decades, Bradley Walsh has been the heartbeat of British television. But what happens when the man who makes the nation laugh is suddenly faced with the most serious fight of his life? He's the quick-witted host who's seen it all, from cheeky banter with contestants on The Chase to dramatic moments on stage and screen. But behind the warm smile and the sharp comedic timing lies a man whose life and health were changed in an instant. This is the untold story of the night Bradley Walsh's world turned upside down, the quiet courage of his wife Donna, and the long road back to hope. Bradley Walsh's career has been nothing short of remarkable. A former professional footballer turned actor, comedian, and television host, he's become a staple of British living rooms. From his days as Danny Baldwin in Coronation Street, to hosting the unstoppable quiz juggernaut The Chase, to playing Graham O'Brien in Dr. You, Bradley has built a career on charm, versatility, and a knack for making people feel at ease. Yet, away from the cameras, those who know him best describe him as grounded, a family man through and through, fiercely protective of his private life and deeply devoted to his wife, Donna, the woman he credits with being his anchor. It was a Friday evening like any other. Bradley had just wrapped filming for The Chase and was looking forward to a quiet night in. He and Donna had planned a simple dinner, a film, and perhaps a glass of wine, nothing more. The house was warm and peaceful. Laughter drifted from the kitchen, where Donna was teasing him about his habit of leaving scripts on the breakfast table. For all their years together, these small rituals, the jokes, the gentle teasing, were what made life rich. Bradley poured them both a drink, leaned back into the sofa, and let out a satisfied sigh. And then it happened. At first, it was subtle, a tightness in his chest, a strange shortness of breath. Bradley brushed it off, probably just the steak, he joked to Donna. But moments later, a wave of dizziness hit him so hard he had to grip the arm of the sofa to steady himself. Donna's smile vanished. She moved closer, noticing the pale color draining from his face. "Brad, are you all right?" He tried to answer, but the words came out slow, slurred. In that instant, she knew. This wasn't just tiredness or a pulled muscle. Something was very, very wrong. Without hesitation, Donna called for an ambulance. Paramedics arrived within minutes. The living room, so often a place of warmth and laughter, became a flurry of medical equipment and urgent voices. Bradley was conscious, but fading in and out. He heard snippets, possible cardiac event, keep him talking, BP dropping. Donna held his hand the entire time, whispering words of reassurance. To the outside world, she was composed. Inside, she was terrified. As the ambulance sped through London streets, sirens piercing the night, Bradley found himself thinking of his father, who had passed suddenly years earlier. Was this how it ended? Would he be just another headline? Beloved TV host dies unexpectedly? After hours, the chaos gave way to a stillness that was almost unbearable. Bradley lay in a hospital bed, tubes and monitors surrounding him, the steady beep of a heart monitor filling the room. The doctors explained it had been a severe cardiac arrhythmia. Quick action had saved him, but the danger wasn't over. He would need further tests, lifestyle changes, and possibly surgery. For the first time in his career, Bradley found himself staring at the very real possibility of having to step away from the work he loved. If Bradley was the face the public saw, Donna was the steady presence who kept the private world turning. She had been with him through the highs of his career and the lows, the rejections, the long filming days, the exhaustion. Now she became his shield. She managed calls from ITV, fielded messages from friends, and gently kept the truth from the press until Bradley was strong enough to decide what to share.
At night, when the world was quiet, she sat by his bedside, holding his hand. "We're not done yet, Brad," she whispered. When the news finally broke that Bradley Walsh had been hospitalized, the reaction was overwhelming. Fans flooded social media with messages of support. Contestants from the chase sent heartfelt notes. Fellow presenters spoke openly about their shock. And yet Bradley himself stayed silent. Not out of secrecy, but because he was still processing what had happened. For the first time in his life, words failed him. Recovery was slow. There were days when he felt strong, and others when simply walking to the garden left him breathless. But something unexpected happened during those long, quiet weeks. Bradley rediscovered the simple pleasures he had been too busy to notice. The sound of rain against the windows, the joy of reading a book cover to cover, the comfort of having Donna's laughter in the next room. It was, in its own way, a gift. Months later, Bradley made his return to television. Standing on the chase set once again, he addressed viewers directly. "I've had a bit of a scare, folks, but I'm still here, and I'm more grateful than ever for the people in my life, especially my wife, Donna."
The audience cheered, but Bradley's voice wavered just slightly. It was a rare glimpse of vulnerability from a man known for his humor. Today, Bradley sees life differently. The work still matters, but not as much as the quiet evenings with Donna, the calls with his son Barney, and the moments that never make it to air. He knows now that the real measure of a man isn't in ratings or awards, but in the love he gives and receives. And in that sense, Bradley Walsh is the richest man alive. The evening air was cool, carrying with it the scent of rain-soaked pavement. The Walsh home was quiet. Too quiet, Donna would later think, except for the faint sound of the television in the background. Bradley had settled into his armchair, a steaming cup of tea by his side, flicking through channels without any real interest. But then, in the space of a single breath, everything changed. Bradley reached for his cup, his hand trembling slightly. It wasn't like him to show any sign of weakness, not in front of Donna, not in front of anyone. But this wasn't a moment he could mask. The color drained from his face, and his usually warm, lively eyes turned distant, as though they were focusing on something far away. "Brad!" Donna's voice was sharp now, tinged with fear. No answer. The cup slipped from his hand, crashing to the floor. For a heartbeat, time seemed to freeze. And then Donna was at his side, calling his name over and over, her voice trembling as she reached for the phone. The minutes that followed would feel like hours. The flashing lights of the ambulance outside their home, the rush of paramedics into the living room, the muffled exchange of medical terms Donna didn't want to understand. As they wheeled him out, Bradley caught her hand. His grip was faint but determined. "Don't let them cancel the show," he whispered, a weak smile flickering across his lips before he was taken away. It was such a Bradley thing to say, even in a moment like this, but it broke her heart all the same. Hospitals have their own kind of silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the heavy, suffocating kind that hangs in the air between bursts of hurried footsteps and the distant beeping of machines. Donna sat in that silence for what felt like a lifetime, her hands clasped tightly together, her thoughts spiraling between hope and fear. She replayed every little detail of the past few days. Had there been warning signs? Had she missed something? The door opened and a doctor stepped in, his expression calm but serious. Donna braced herself. "He's stable," the doctor began. But it was close, far too close. The words washed over her like a wave, leaving her dizzy. Stable, that was something, but close. "What happened?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. The doctor explained. A sudden cardiac episode, unexpected but not entirely without warning. Stress, exhaustion, years of pushing his body and mind to their limits without pause. Bradley had been giving the world everything he had, but in the process, he'd been giving nothing to himself. The days that followed were a blur of hospital visits, gentle smiles for the nurses, and whispered conversations when Bradley drifted back to sleep. Donna never left his side for long, afraid that if she looked away for too long, something might happen again. Bradley, for his part, tried to keep the mood light, cracking jokes even when his voice was weak. "Bet you didn't think you'd get me to slow down this much, eh?" he teased, though he could see the flicker of vulnerability behind the humor. One night when the ward was quiet and the city outside had gone still, Bradley turned to her with a seriousness she rarely saw in him. I thought I was done, Don. For a second there, I thought that was it." I swallowed hard. "But it wasn't. You're still here. And you're going to stay here. With me." He smiled faintly, but his hand squeezed hers with quiet urgency. "In the end, we all have our moments when the spotlight fades and all that's left is who we are at our core." For Bradley Walsh, that moment was a reminder, not of what he could lose, but of what he already has: love, family, and the unshakable will to keep going.